I walked into that conference room thinking I was about to be named general manager. I had on a clean button-down, prepped notes in my folder, even skipped lunch because I figured we'd be popping champagne afterward. But the second I opened that door, I knew something was off. Mark was already seated, hunched over his tablet, not even pretending to look busy. His face was blank, just flat and unreadable. And he didn't stand up, didn't shake my hand, didn't even glance up when he said it. "You're no longer a fit here." That was it, 7 words. I froze mid-step, still holding my folder like an idiot. "I'm sorry." He kept scrolling on the tablet like I'd interrupted something more important. "We've decided to move in a different direction, someone who's better aligned with where the company's headed." I blinked. Better aligned? He finally looked up, just for a second, like I was a bug under glass. "Trevor's taking the role, official as of this morning." Trevor, the guy I trained, the guy who still needed help finding vendor contacts 2 weeks ago. My jaw clenched. "Mark, what the hell is this?" "It's not personal," he said, flipping to the next screen like he was reading from a damn teleprompter. "The board has already signed off. You'll be receiving a transition package and separation paperwork shortly. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from." I looked around the room. No one else was there, just me, the guy who built this damn company out of nothing, being tossed like old furniture. 15 years of my life. Early mornings, weekends, cold warehouses, hauling folding tables in and out of garages because we didn't have office space. I fixed the Wi-Fi myself. I slept in the back of a delivery van more than once. And now I was no longer a fit? "Who made this decision?" I asked. My voice cracked, not out of emotion, just disbelief. "The executive team. HR is processing everything now." Of course they were. I noticed the packet already sitting in front of him. Manila folder, sealed, not spur of the moment. This had been in motion for a while. "Do I get to speak to the board?" He shrugged. "It's finalized." Finalized, just like that. I stood there for another 10 seconds. No one said a word. I finally reached across and grabbed the folder without asking. He didn't stop me. What he didn't know, or maybe he hoped I forgot, was that when we started this company, I signed the incorporation docs in my name. Mark said he couldn't be listed as owner because of some legal issue with his old firm, so I signed. I became the sole legal owner, and we never changed it. I met Mark 15 years ago in a half-dead bar off I-90 in Joliet, Illinois. One of those places with sticky floors and warm beer. A buddy of mine from college had set it up. Said Mark was intense but brilliant. He wasn't wrong. Mark showed up late, didn't apologize, and didn't order a drink. Just sat down across from me and launched into a rant about inefficiencies in mid-sized logistics networks. I didn't even get a full hello before he was drawing warehouse flowcharts on a napkin with a dry Sharpie. It should have been a red flag. Instead, I leaned in, because yeah, the guy was a dick. But he was right. His brain ran fast. Ideas flew out of his mouth like he couldn't keep up with them. But they made sense. Real, scalable stuff. He just didn't have the patience or the wiring to execute. That's where I came in. 2 weeks later, we were back at that same bar sketching out business plans. I had experience in ops from a freight firm in Indianapolis. He had contacts, a slick pitch, and a weird gift for selling chaos as innovation. It worked. We split the responsibilities straight down the line. I'd build the system, he'd sell it. We operated out of my garage that first winter. Chicago cold. Breath fogging in front of us while we huddled over space heaters and folding tables. We used lawn chairs for office chairs. Borrowed Wi-Fi from my neighbor. When the heat went out, we worked from the back of my Chevy Suburban, parked 3 blocks down so we didn't lose signal. I remember the night we registered the business like it was yesterday. We were sitting on the floor, laptops on our knees, takeout boxes everywhere. I had the forms pulled up. He was pacing. He stopped and looked at me like he was about to drop a bomb. "Look, I can't be listed as owner right now." I blinked. "What?" "There's a thing with my old firm. It's not criminal, just messy. They'll try to freeze any new venture I'm attached to. Just sign for now. We'll clean it up later." I stared at him. "You want me to be the legal owner?" "For now, just on paper. You're the ops guy anyway, it makes sense. We'll fix it once this lawsuit blows over." I didn't like it, but he made it sound temporary. And we were broke, eating gas station sandwiches, cutting product samples by hand. We didn't have time for legal battles or delays. So I signed Jason Ellis, sole owner. That signature probably took 5 seconds. But it changed everything. Clients started coming in fast. Our third month, we landed a contract with a distributor out in Columbus, then one in Tulsa, then Omaha. Word spread. Mid-tier supply chain companies needed leaner systems, smarter coordination. That's what we sold, and we were damn good at it. We rented our first real office a year in, above a pawn shop, smelled like burnt coffee and moldy carpet. I didn't care. We finally had a space where I didn't have to tape the printer to the wall to keep it from falling over. Mark thrived in front of clients. He was sharp, persuasive, borderline arrogant, but people bought what he was selling, and I kept everything behind the curtain running smooth. Hiring, invoicing, vendor deals, that was me. The ownership thing, it faded. We got busy, and Mark never brought it up again. I should've. I didn't. The years blurred together. We built systems for companies I used to apply to. I flew to conferences wearing a badge with my name on it next to logos I helped create. And still, legally, it was mine. On paper, I was the company, but I didn't think about it. Not really. I trusted him. God, that looks pathetic now. We hit 8 figures in revenue by year 6, had an actual team by year 7, a front desk, real coffee, employees with benefits. I watched strangers walk into our building and talk about our name like it was gospel, and I stood right there, proud of what we'd built, not knowing that the signature I scribbled on a freezing night in a garage would one day be my only weapon left. It started small, the kind of stuff you almost miss if you're not paying attention. I got left off one meeting invite. No big deal, right? Then another, then 3 in a row. I checked with Linda in admin, asked if invites were getting flagged or caught in spam. She gave me a weird smile and said, "Oh, I think Mark said you were stepping back from those." I wasn't. Then I logged into our system one morning, couldn't access the dashboard I built from scratch, said my permissions were restricted. Legacy tools, IT told me. We're sunsetting those. Funny, no one mentioned that in the last 6 ops meetings. You know, the ones I used to run. It didn't stop there. Documents started getting renamed. My initials gone. Memos I wrote were re-uploaded with team edits and no version history. I asked Megan, my direct report, what was going on. She got flustered. "Oh, I thought you knew. Mark asked us to streamline attribution. It's more collaborative now." Collaborative? My ass. That's when Trevor started showing up. Fresh haircut, too much cologne, new Patagonia vest every week like he was starring in his own promo reel. He'd pop into ops stand-ups, nod like he understood half the stuff being said, then leave with a smirk. I'd ask questions. Why was this report routed through Trevor? Or, who approved this vendor switch? And I'd get vague crap like, we're just experimenting, or it's part of the optimization pilot. Pilot my ass. Every answer was slippery. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but I could see it clear as day. They were phasing me out, not firing me. That would have been too obvious, too messy. No, this was cleaner, smarter, quiet. I walked into the break room one morning and found a group huddled around a screen. Trevor was giving a workflow update to the Manila team, using my KPIs, my framework, and they were eating it up. "Looking sharp, Trev," someone said. I stood there for a second too long. No one turned around. Not one damn person noticed I was in the room. Quick note, before we keep going, drop where you're watching from in the comments. City, country, wherever. That afternoon, I checked our internal platform. My profile had been moved from leadership to team. I didn't say anything, not yet. Instead, I started documenting everything. Screenshots, emails, login attempts, internal edits, even hallway conversations. I didn't know what I was collecting, but I knew I'd need it eventually. I stopped trusting the company calendar and kept my own. Mark started posting updates to Slack without tagging me. I used to approve every vendor contract. Now I saw new ones popping up that I'd never touched. When I finally cornered him, quick hallway chat, just the two of us, I asked, "What's going on with my systems? Why is Trevor leading ops reviews?" He didn't even stop walking, just said, "You've done great work. We're just modernizing some things. No one's being pushed out." Right. I'd sit at my desk, same desk I picked out from a catalog 5 years ago, and watch the team walk past like I was an old painting on the wall, something you don't even notice after a while. But I noticed everything. I watched Trevor get invited to sit in on board calls. I watched Mark CC him on things he never used to touch. I watched my roadmap get pulled apart and reassembled, with someone else's name at the top. The worst part? No one came to me. No one said a word. Not even a, hey, just wanted to check in. They acted like I had quietly quit without telling anyone, but I was still there, still showing up, still logging in, still watching. The last thing I added to that deck was a 6-month rollout plan. Budget, team structure, supplier gaps, everything. It had taken me 4 weeks. I stayed late, skipped dinners, reviewed every invoice from the last fiscal year just to make sure the margins made sense. The role wasn't posted. Mark told me it'd be internal. Just send over your vision for the next phase of ops, he'd said. You're the obvious choice. So I did. I put my name in the footer, password protected it. Sent it straight to his inbox. No one else had access. A week later, I walked into the office and saw the company Slack blowing up. Big announcement today. Huge congrats incoming. My stomach dropped before I even clicked. At 10:02 a.m., the email hit. We're thrilled to announce Trevor Lang as our new general manager. There was a photo of him next to it. Arms folded, chin lifted like he was posing for a Forbes cover. I didn't say anything. Just clicked the attachment at the bottom. Trevor Lang's strategic vision for Q4 and beyond. I opened it, and there it was, my title, my structure, my financial projections, down to the same line, spacing, and decimal formatting. The first page even started with my sentence. Stability is good, but it's not a growth strategy. Only now it had Trevor's name at the top. No mention of me, no collaboration. Just Trevor's shiny new vision, stolen word for word. Before we go on, tell me in the comments, what would you do if your boss handed your work to someone else for a promotion? I stared at my screen for 5 full minutes, fists clenched, heart hammering in my throat. I didn't care about the title. I cared that they didn't even try to hide it. They weren't excluding me anymore. They were erasing me. A couple hours later, I got a text from Ella, one of my old interns who is now a junior analyst in Dallas. Is this your deck? I swear this looks like what you showed me in January. I replied with just 2 words. It is. 10 minutes later, Trevor strutted over to my desk like he was walking into a high school reunion. Same smug grin, fake casual tone. Hey man, just wanted to say thanks. I know you've done a lot of groundwork here. I really respect that. I'll be leaning on your foundation moving forward. He actually stood there like I was supposed to shake his hand. I looked up. You use my deck. He blinked. Yeah, parts of it. We're all building on the same ideas, right? No, I said. I wrote that, from scratch. He paused, then gave this tight-lipped smile like he'd practiced it in a mirror. Well, you know, in this company, it's all about collaboration. Mark was clear this was a team evolution. I'm just here to execute. Don't ever thank me again, I said. He didn't respond, just backed away, muttering something about alignment under his breath. I sat there, looking at my inbox, waiting to see if maybe someone on the exec team would reach out. A call, a message, anything. Nothing came. Not that day, not the next. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't incompetence, this wasn't poor communication. This was theft. Polished, strategic, quiet, but theft all the same. They didn't just take credit for my work. They took me out of the picture. The next morning, I tried to send a goodbye email. Nothing long, just a short message thanking the team, telling them to keep pushing. I hit send. It bounced. Delivery failed. User does not exist. I refreshed. Tried again. Same thing. My company email had already been shut off. No notice, no countdown, just gone. I opened my calendar. Empty. Access denied. Intranet locked out. Cloud folders I'd created vanished, like I was never there. I went to my office to start packing. My nameplate was already gone, just a little sticky patch where it used to be. Quick note, while you're listening, drop where you're watching from in the comments. Let's see where this is reaching. People walked past me like I was invisible. I counted 7 former direct reports. Not one made eye contact. I unplugged my old monitor, wrapped the cord neatly, pulled a few books from the shelf, still had sticky notes from when we were building out our Tulsa distribution model. I kept those. Then I grabbed the photo of my wife and me from the first client gala. We were younger then, hopeful. She was wearing a red dress she'd borrowed from her sister. I'd forgotten how happy we looked. I didn't take the awards. I didn't take the pen with the company logo I helped design. I just filled a cardboard box with what was left of 15 years. On the way out, I passed the lobby display, that massive LED screen I fought to get budget for. It was flashing slides for leadership in action. First frame, Mark standing arms crossed like some startup guru. Second frame, Trevor holding a mic and smiling like he earned something. Then I heard it. "Hey, where's Jason's photo?" one of the interns joked. Trevor, without missing a beat, shot back. "Guess you gotta still be relevant." It hit like a gut punch, but I didn't stop walking. I kept my spine straight, nodded once at the front desk. Maria didn't look up, and stepped outside. The air was hot and stale, concrete buzzing from the August heat. I stood at the curb, cardboard box in hand, watching the cars roll by like none of it had ever happened. No ceremony, no handshake, no closure. I walked to the bus stop, didn't want to spend another cent of gas money on this company, and sat on the metal bench. The box rested on my lap like dead weight. I felt hollow, not angry, not yet, just gutted. Then my phone buzzed. "Michael, call me, important." I blinked at the screen. Michael was my old lawyer. We hadn't spoken in years, not since he helped Mark and me draft some early contracts. I opened the message, just those 3 words, nothing else. I looked back at the office building, blinking through the sun. They thought I was done. They thought they'd wipe me clean. But something was off. Something was missing from their picture. And Michael, out of nowhere, was reaching out. I hit call. Michael picked up on the second ring. "Where are you?" he asked. "Bus stop. Get here now." I didn't ask questions. I just stood up, shifted the box under my arm, and caught the next ride to his office in River North. He hadn't moved in years. Same second-floor walk-up over a Thai place, same crooked blinds. The waiting room smelled like old carpet and printer toner. He barely looked up when I walked in. "Conference room." I followed him in, sat down across from him, and waited. He flipped open a blue folder, slid it across the table, and pointed at a line on the first page. Owner, Jason Ellis. Filed April 13th, 2010. "You remember this?" he asked. "Yeah, we were in my garage." Mark said. "I don't care what Mark said. Has your name ever been taken off these documents?" "No." "Has there ever been a transfer of ownership signed by you?" "No." "Then you're still the owner, not an exec, not a co-founder, the legal owner." I stared at the paper. The ink hadn't faded. Neither had my signature. Michael pulled out a second sheet, a clause from our original articles of incorporation. "Any contracts exceeding $1 million require the signature of the legal owner." "They've been closing deals for years without me," I said. He nodded. "Then we have grounds for a formal compliance review, possibly fraud, depending on what's been filed." It hit me like cold water, all that silence, all that erasing, and the whole time, I was the spine of the company, the piece they couldn't legally cut. "You sure this holds?" I asked. Michael's laugh was short and sharp. "Jason, they've been walking on a trap door. They just didn't know it was there." He pulled out a legal pad and started jotting down language for a notice. Clean, direct, no drama, just facts. "Quick break. If you're still here, tell me in the comments. If someone tried to erase you from your own company, what would you do first?" "Keep it surgical," I told him. "No threats, no chest thumping." "Good," he said. "Let the paper speak." We drafted the letter that afternoon, addressed to the board, the CFO, and their external legal counsel. Notice of ownership, demand for immediate compliance audit, and a halt on all executive decisions requiring majority vote. Pending resolution of control. Michael leaned back in his chair when we finished. "You want to send this, or should I?" "You send it, certified and encrypted." "You want to add a call for Mark?" "No." I didn't need to talk to him. I didn't need to yell. That phase was over. I sat there a minute longer, just breathing. 15 years, and I'd let that paper collect dust in the back of a drawer. I could have pushed earlier. I could have called this out. But I didn't. I wanted peace, partnership. They wanted power. Now they were about to learn the difference. Michael packed up the documents and slid the copies into a folder with my name on it. "You good?" "I'm better than good." "Then let's move." We walked out together. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't me throwing a fit. This was me remembering who I was. Michael sent the letter out that night. Certified mail, encrypted email, direct to every board member, legal contact, and the CFO. No drama, just facts. 2 pages, sharp as a blade. Subject line, notice of ownership and formal compliance review, initiation. It didn't say I'm taking over. It didn't have to. It said, Jason Ellis is the sole legal owner of company name. No transfer of ownership has occurred. Per Articles of Incorporation, he is initiating a compliance review effective immediately. We ended it with a list of actions temporarily frozen: large contracts, financial approvals, new executive hires, all of it pending the outcome of the review. We hit send, then we waited. Less than 4 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Same number. I picked up. Jason Ellis. Jason, this is Stephen Linwood, board member. We met years ago. Your daughter interned with me, I said. Emily. That's right. She still talks about what you taught her. He paused. I read the letter. I had no idea. None of us did. Bullshit, I thought, but I didn't say it. Thank you for calling, I said instead. You understand what this means, right? He said. There are filings. Singapore, for one. The licensing deal we just finalized. It's under review now. Legal's not happy. Because my signature wasn't on it. He cleared his throat. Yeah, that's a problem. I didn't gloat. I didn't push. I just let the silence hang there until he filled it. I've already called 2 others on the board, he said. We're setting up an emergency session for tomorrow morning. Mark doesn't know yet. I'll loop you in once it's scheduled. Appreciate it, I said. And I meant it, because no matter what came next, this wasn't just about leverage. It was about acknowledgement. Quick note while we keep going. Drop a comment and tell me this. If you found out you still legally own the company that kicked you out, would you walk back in? By 11 a.m. the next day, 5 board members had confirmed receipt. One of them forwarded the email to the state's Business Regulatory Office. Compliance was officially on the table. Mark, silent. HR, silent. The executive team, not a word. The building I helped build was suddenly ice-cold quiet. They'd spent the last year talking around me, cutting me out, pretending I was dead weight. And now they were all scrambling in conference calls they couldn't hold, without violating their own bylaws. Michael looked at me across his desk. You ready for what comes next? I've been ready, I said. They're the ones who forgot who I am. He didn't smile, just nodded. Good. Then let's walk straight through the fire. We walked through the front doors at 9:02 a.m. Me, Michael, and a state compliance officer named Dana, clipboard in hand, state badge hanging from her neck, no smile. Maria was at the front desk. She looked up, froze, then quickly looked down at her keyboard like it had just started typing on its own. I didn't stop. We headed straight to the executive conference room. Same one where they blindsided me. Same one where Mark said, I wasn't a fit. Funny how short a walk can feel when you're the one holding the filings. Inside, the board was already seated, Mark at the head of the table, Claire 2 seats down, notebook in front of her like she was still pretending to take minutes. Trevor sat off to the side like a guest who wasn't sure if he was invited. No one said anything when we walked in. Michael shut the door. Dana dropped a thick folder on the center of the table and opened it like she was presenting evidence at a trial. Per state compliance code and corporate filing requirements, she said, Jason Ellis is listed as sole legal owner. No amendments or transfers have been filed to override that status. Then I spoke. This company, all of it, was built under my name, with my signature, and my authority. You've been operating in violation of your own charter. I laid out the paperwork. Each page had the state seal stamped clean at the bottom. The room stayed dead quiet. Then Stephen Linwood nodded. I support the filing, followed by Karen Wells, the finance board seat. I second. Mark shifted in his chair. This is ridiculous. We've been running a global operation. No one's challenged ownership in over a decade. I didn't even look at him. That's not how ownership works. Claire kept her eyes on the table, didn't say a word. Trevor finally leaned forward. Are we being audited? Dana turned to him without blinking. You're being reviewed, starting today. Quick break. If you've made it this far, drop in the comments. How would you handle walking back into a room where you got betrayed? I pulled a final document from my folder, a formal notice of authority suspension. I slid it across the table. Effective immediately, I said. Executive decision-making power is frozen. Until this review is complete, all sign-offs come through me. Mark stood up. This isn't how we run things. It is now. No yelling, no arguing, just business. Claire scribbled something in her notebook, but still didn't look up. Michael gathered the documents. We'll expect access to all financial systems, communication logs, and third-party contracts by end of day. No one argued, not one of them moved. The silence in that room was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. I stood. Michael followed. Dana clicked her pen and closed her folder. And just like that, I walked out, not as a guest, but as the owner. The compliance review was ordered that same afternoon. No debate, no delay. Mark was pulled from all decision-making. Official language, sideline pending audit outcome. I didn't wait around to celebrate. I didn't need a damn trophy. I just showed up the next morning at 7 to 14, used my original access badge, still active, and walked through the front door like I never left. Maria at the front desk flinched when she saw me. She stood up like maybe she should say something, then sat back down. "Morning," I said. She gave a small nod. "Good morning." That was enough. No balloons, no speeches, no welcome back breakfast. I didn't want any of that fake PR crap. I walked past the framed photo of Trevor on the wall, the one from his promotion day, and headed to my old office. The door was open, desk clean. On top of the keyboard was a folded sheet of legal pad paper. I opened it. Day 1, nothing left to prove. M. Michael's handwriting, sharp, all caps. I set the note against the monitor and powered up the system. Login worked. First thing I did was disable every exec override that had been installed after I left. Then I reactivated every ops program they shelved. Legacy doesn't mean broken. It just means you didn't understand it. I pulled up vendor logs, staffing rosters, budget forecasts. One by one, I responded to every unanswered message still flagged in my inbox. I didn't rush. I didn't cut corners. I just did what I always did. I got the job done. No retaliation, no power plays. I wasn't here to punish. I was here to clean house, the right way. Around 10:30, Maria walked in holding a paper cup. "Brought you coffee. Didn't know how you take it now." I reached out and took it. Her hand trembled slightly. "Same as before," I said. "Black." She nodded quickly and turned to leave. "Maria." She stopped. "Thank you." She looked back over her shoulder, eyes tight. "Glad you're back." I didn't smile, just gave her a small nod. Then I went right back to work. The hallway was quiet. Doors opened just enough for people to peek through and see if it was real. It was, and I wasn't asking for permission anymore. Quick pause. If you had one shot to step back into a room that tried to erase you, would you lead it different the second time? Drop your answer below. By noon, I'd reinstated the original supplier contracts in Omaha and flagged 2 payroll anomalies from Trevor's team. Nobody argued, nobody even replied, and I didn't need them to. I wasn't just back, I was in charge. This time, I wasn't here to support someone else's vision. I was the vision. No more favors, no more helping behind the scenes. This was my company, and I was running it, with both eyes open. The board was already seated when I walked in. Same room, same table, same gray carpet. Only difference was me, at the head this time. Michael stood behind me. Dana took a seat at the far end with her clipboard, already recording. I dropped the final filings on the table. No preamble, no speech, just paper. Mark leaned forward, eyes darting between faces. "Let's all be rational. We've had success under the current structure. What matters now is continuity." I didn't say a word. Karen slid the filings across the table toward her, read the header, looked at me. "This confirms it," she said. "Jason's ownership is uncontested. The board needs to vote." Mark tried again. "This doesn't benefit anyone. Public fallout hurts everyone in this room." Still, I said nothing. Claire finally looked up. First time in weeks. She stopped, then dropped her gaze again. Karen looked straight at her. "You knew, didn't you?" The room stiffened. Claire hesitated, then nodded. "I did." Her voice barely carried. "I thought it would sort itself out." Karen turned to me. "You were never erased, just covered up." That hit harder than anything Mark ever said. I leaned forward, hands flat on the table. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to restore order." Stephen raised his hand. Motion to proceed with full compliance review. Suspension of Mark until process completion. Karen seconded. 5 hands went up. Unanimous. Mark stood, but this time there was no spin left in him. Just the weight of being cornered. Claire didn't move, didn't speak. The vote was done. Dana marked it in her log. Review is officially active, suspension effective immediately. I gathered the papers, closed the folder, and I walked out. No applause, no celebration, no one followed me. Just the sound of truth finally standing in the room with me, and not flinching.